Hello students, and welcome to Module 10 Overview, dealing with intercultural leadership, conflict, and indirect solutions. You'll note from this graphic by Yang Liu that there's a direct way to approach problems and an indirect approach. The Germans take a very direct route. They face the problem head on and they look for solutions. The Chinese approach is to recognize that there is a problem and to walk circumspectly around it, to be sure not to fall into the problem, but to take a more indirect approach to problem solving. In the next 4 slides, we're going to highlight the themes for the 4 chapters of Elmer that you'll read this week. Keep in mind that Elmer is our teacher by means of video and by means of the textbook. In mediation, we have someone who is equally respected by both sides of a conflict, and it is that mediator who finds a solution with which everyone will be satisfied. Sometimes there is no better way to explain something than the way that the author does. You need a direct quote. In the case of the one down position, Elmer says you make yourself vulnerable to another person, or indicate that without their help you are in danger of being shamed or losing face. You put yourself in debt, obligation, or obvious deference to the other party. By taking the position of need and calling on another for assistance, you utilize another twist in the notion of shame or loss of face. Before we moved to Nicaragua, a former missionary recommended this book to us, and one of the most important chapters that we found was chapter 7 on storytelling and proverbs. In the following, we have some biblical examples of how storytelling or proverbs come into play in Scripture. We have Nathan, who tells King David a story about 2 men with sheep in 2 Samuel 12, an indirect approach of storytelling to get David to recognize his sin. In Jeremiah chapter 18, God uses a potter to teach an object lesson to Jeremiah. In Ezekiel chapter 18, the prophet quotes from a well-known proverb that both he and Jeremiah have quoted, and God says don't ever use that proverb again. Read the text to find out why. Jesus tells many stories, many parables, but he reviews one story in just 3 words in Luke chapter 17, verse 32, when he says, "Remember Lot's wife." In chapter 8, Elmer talks about a series of indirect strategies, including inaction, misdirection, silence, and indefinite persons. You'll have to read the book in order to find out what this is all about. So Dwayne Elmer is our teacher for the video as he teaches a Russian seminary class in English on indirect conflict resolution. Then you'll read the 4 chapters of part 2 in Elmer's book, Cross-Cultural Conflict, taking notes as you go along, because you're going to apply what you've learned to conflict management as you discuss in your post and in your replies to this week's discussion forum. I hope you have a wonderful week.